I'm troubled that the United States of America gave its word, and then when it was no longer easy for them to keep it, they transferred the word to a regime in Iran that is really acting through a government in Iraq. And I continue to believe that we should all work together to find a good solution. And Camp Liberty is not a good solution. It may be a good transit point for a good solution, but it was a transit point that wasn't even needed. Because I think there were better solutions, but we haven't found the will to find them. So, you are a good people. You don't deserve to be on the Foreign Terrorist Organization list of the United States of America, and I think you should be delisted ASAP. And I believe that you should celebrate the kind of people you are. And when you start to celebrate, I will be there cheering with you.
Sur le fait qu'il est inacceptable de tolérer des policiers irakiens en armes à l'intérieur de ce camp. Sinon, les habitants sont en droit de refuser de s'installer à Liberty. Je voudrais dire aussi qu'il faudrait respecter pleinement la vie privée, les droits et les libertés de ces femmes et de ces hommes.
C'est une grande cause humanitaire, Ashraf, au-delà même des enjeux politiques, même s'ils sont présents, il s'agit de préserver la vie de ces femmes et de ces hommes, mais pas seulement la vie, la dignité. Et on ne peut pas enfermer ces hommes et ces femmes dans une prison. Cela doit être obtenu, y compris pour que l'ONU ne se prête pas à une mascarade qui porterait atteinte à son autorité et à son honneur.
The place where the Iraqis want to move the Camp Ashraf residents is not another camp as proposed. It is a virtual prison. And if the United Nations believes that what they've entered into here is correct, they should be ashamed of themselves. They have approved this location, and the United States and all other nations should demand a new agreement be established. So what's really going on here? The answer is a failed and misguided effort on the part of diplomats in Europe and the United States and at the United Nations to seek better relations with and better behavior by the regime in Iran. Unfortunately, the naive belief that designating the MEK a terrorist group would empower the so-called moderates in Iran became policy. And the people in Camp Ashraf have paid the price for that mistake.
Politicians talk about the art of the possible, but everything that we hope to achieve with respect to Camp Ashraf is absolutely possible. It just, as Ed Rendell said earlier, it means the international community, including the United States, must simply do the right thing. Now, in this context, various countries are understandably asking, okay, we're going to be asked to help and support this process. What is the United States going to do? The United States has stated firmly and appropriately that it supports this UN process, and the United States needs to be an active part of the solution. This means accepting its fair share to resettle the people of Camp Ashraf, and this is simply doing the right thing. It means to support this process, from start to finish, and the best way to support this process is to finish the process that started well over a year ago regarding the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation.
We ask those who now say, the representatives of the United Nations, who say that that camp is habitable and is right for the residents, we ask them, would you place your daughters or sons in that camp? We ask them, would you be willing to live in that camp? When we hear of those facilities, I know that I would not be willing. And we say to the UN representatives, if you are not willing to live there, why should you ask the residents of Ashraf to do so?
The only real sustainable solution to the Iranian nuclear threat is the emergence of a free and democratic Iran. This is the greatest threat in the eyes of the regime. They know they lack legitimacy and that they rule only through the use of force and repression. That is why Camp Ashraf is such an important symbol. That is why the regime is so determined to destroy it and its residents. That is why it is so opposed to delisting of the MEK. But that is also why we must, in addition to meeting our legal and our moral commitments, act to preserve and protect that symbol of freedom. Thank you very much.
Donc il s'agit de ne pas céder. Et ça se tient sur des points précis. D'abord, il faut arrêter d'accepter la qualification proposée par Khomeini et la suite, la qualification d'organisation terroriste décernée à l'opposition depuis toujours à la théocratie iranienne. Pourquoi, alors que l'Europe a supprimé l'idée d'organisation terroriste touchant les amis qui sont ici, pourquoi l'Amérique, les États-Unis ne l'ont pas supprimé?
We need to live up to our promise to protect the people at Camp Ashraf. Now is the time to delist the MEK and free them from their binds and let them make a difference in Iran.
Tehran views the presence of the MEK in Iraq as a threat. So it's no surprise that the regime not only publicly supports the idea of displacement inside Iraq for the residents, but actively lobbies for it in Baghdad and elsewhere. Now, much of this so-called lobbying is orchestrated by the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and Security, the MOIS. And just yesterday, there was a news report out that said that the MEK was behind the assassination of Iranian nuclear scientists. You may have seen it. It's been on several websites. Nothing could be further from the truth. And they quote in this report that it was according to unnamed U.S. intelligence officials. How convenient. Unnamed. Impossible to prove, and almost always, as in this case, completely erroneous. It is an act of desperation.
The most important points from the speeches today. Point number one, relocation can only be accepted if minimum assurances for safety and security of the residents is provided. Point two, Camp Liberty under present condition is not acceptable. Point three, relocation can only be accepted with respect for the dignity of the residents. And point number four, Ambassador Kobler should preserve the rights of the residents and not giving to demands of the Iraqi government.